Yo guys, it's DynamiteTheOne from the Duelist of Awesome channel, and today we're going to be going over the Subterror profile deck list. Let's get right into it. First up, we have Subterror Guru. Now, Subterror Guru and most of the other cards in the deck are flip monsters. And don't worry, we got cards in here that will assist your monsters to be able to flip them and flip them back down on face down defense position and flip them right back up to activate their abilities. But with Subterror Guru, you can add one Subterror card from your deck to your hand, except Subterror Guru. You can target one other monster that is face up on the field, change that monster, also Subterror Guru, down and face down position. And he has a quick effect. Or no, sorry, that was his quick effect. My apologies. Next up, we have Subterror Phoenix. Subterror Phoenix is a spellcaster card that is a level 1. Now, Subterror Phoenix is basically a assist for Subterror Guru. So, Subterror Phoenix, when your opponent activates a card or effect, this is a quick effect, by the way, you can send this card from your hand or field to the graveyard, then target one Subterror monster you control and negate the activation. Then change the targeted monster to face down position. You can also target one face up monster you control, change it to face down position as well. And if you do, special summon one Subterror monster from your hand or graveyard in face up or face down defense position. You can only use this effect of Subterror Phoenix once per turn. Next up, we have Subterror Nemesis Archer. Now, I only play 2. I could play 3, but I like to keep my deck around 40 cards in the main deck at least. So I just made Subterror Nemesis Archer be the only 2 copies that I got in this deck. But with Subterror Nemesis Archer, at the start of the damage step, if this card attacks the opponent's face down defense position monster, and if you control another Subterror monster, you can shuffle that opponent's monster into the deck. That is very good. Say like if you're fighting any monster that's not being affected by any spell or trap cards at all, but can still be affected by monsters. Let's say the Forbidden One, the man, the myth, the legend, Exodia the Incarnate. I generally have issues with him when I fight him, if any of my opponents use him at all through my duels. Subterror Nemesis Archer is a great way to get rid of him. But, say like if he tries to negate you, you can have an answer to that if you have Ash Blossom or Infinite Impermanence or anything like that. Next up, the non-engine monsters. I have 2 Red Eyes Black Dragons. My personal favorite dragon throughout the entire series of Yu-Gi-Oh! I don't know what it is. I think it's just how it's just a all black dragon with these menacing crimson glowing red eyes. These are just some beautiful cards that I got. Just beautiful. Just take a look at these guys. Man. Just beautiful fucking looking cards. Just absolutely majestic. Just absolute must need for this deck if you are playing Subterrors with Red Eyes Dark Dragoon. But we'll get to that in a second. Next up, we have Red Eyes Wyvern. Now, you can play 1 or 2. I normally only play 1. I could play 2, but I normally play 1. But the reason why I play Red Eyes Wyvern is because I have a spell card. It is called Red Eyes Insight. As I said before, this Subterror deck profile also includes Red Eyes Dark Dragoon. Instead of using my Red Eyes Dark Dragon for Red Eyes Insight, because you have to send a Red Eyes monster from hand or deck to the graveyard, I just choose Red Eyes Wyvern. Now, the reason why for Red Eyes Wyvern is because if he's in the graveyard, you can target one Red Eyes monster in your graveyard, special summon that target, and just have them back onto the field if they did get destroyed or if they were sent there. Now, that works with Red Eyes Dark Dragoon as well. His name also changes to Red Eyes Dark Dragon, so he counts. Red Eyes Dark Dragoon can be summoned back onto the field if for some reason you made a misplay or they somehow just got the best over you. Next up, we have 2 Dark Magicians. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of this artwork for a Dark Magician, but come on now, it's Dark Magician, come on now. They're pretty good, no effects on them, no nothing, but who cares? Come on, it's Dark Magician now. Now, the reason why I have Dark Magician, well, it's obvious. For Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, you need Dark Magician and a Red Eyes Black Dragon to make the beast of a monster that will be included within this deck. Next up, the last 3 monsters for the Ash Blossom is the last remaining monsters that we got for the main deck. Now, the reason why we have Ash Blossom, come on now. Ash Blossom is to negate your opponent from doing anything that could benefit them. Next up, the spells and trap cards of the main deck. Now, we have the Hidden City. The Hidden City is a field spell. When this card is active, or activated, my apologies, you can add 1 Subterror monster from your deck to your hand, and once per turn, you can change a face-down defense position Subterror monster you control to face-up attack or defense position. Now, that is very good for a Subterror Guru, because Subterror Guru, if he's already face down, say like this is Subterror Guru real quick, if he's face down, we flip him up into attack or defense position. I do in defense to make sure they don't kill him, or, well no, they could still get rid of him, but at least don't do damage towards me. But say like this is Guru, he's flipped, his ability activates to where I can search through the deck for any Subterror spell, trap, or monster. Next up is the Subterror Final Battle. Now, Subterror Final Battle is a continuous trap card that at each turn of the event, you can flip this up to activate it, to activate 1 of 4 of its unique abilities. Now, when you're done on each turn, you have to flip them back down. Now, they can stay on the field as long as you want until either your opponent gets rid of them or you have to get rid of 1 to activate a different spell. But let's get back to Subterror Final Battle real quick. One of the amazing abilities that Subterror Final Battle has, you can change 1 Subterror monster on the field to face up or defense position, or you could change that face up Subterror monster on the field to face down or defense position. But here's my favorite part. You can either change. You can boost your Subterror monster attack and defense points to become equal to its combined original attack and defense until the end of this turn. Now that, guys, is very good, because if you have Subterror Guru or Nemesis Archer on the field, and your opponent's monster does more damage, but if you use the 3rd ability that Subterror Final Battle has, you can increase your monster's attack points by adding the same amount that they already have. So just multiplying it by 2. So Subterror Guru, he has 1600. Just double that up and say like your opponent's monster only does 3000. You're doing way more than he does, so you can destroy his higher attack monster just like that. Next up, we have Red Eyes Fusion. Now, the reason why we have Red Eyes Fusion, well, is to make Red Eyes Dark Dragoon. we already know what Red Eyes Fusion does. You got to take your Red Eyes monster and use another material that is needed to make a fusion monster that you need. Next up, it is Red Eyes Insight. I have 3 of these. Now, the reason why I have 3 is because if I already have Red Eyes Dark Dragoon on the field, Red Eyes Dark Dragoon has a unique ability to where he can negate your opponent's activated spell, trap, or monster effect by discarding a card. That's why I have another Red Eyes Insight. I normally only play 2 because I only have 2 Red Eyes Fusions, but I have 3 to at least just discard 1 to stop my opponent from continuing their assault. Now with Red Eyes Insight, you gotta send 1 of your Red Eyes monsters from hand or deck to the graveyard to add 1 Red Eyes spell, trap from your deck to your hand. So obviously I am going to go for Red Eyes Fusion to make Red Eyes Dark Dragoon. Next up, we have Called by the Grave. Now, the reason why I have Called by the Grave, well, I don't like Ash Blossoms. They're pretty annoying. So anytime, if I'm trying to fusion summon to Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, and they Ash Blossom me, Called by the Grave. I'm preventing that right away. Next up, we have Trap Trick. Trap Trick is a very unique card that I found out not too long ago, and I added this to Subterror because, well, it's pretty fucking good of what it does. So, Subterror definitely benefits on this because Trap Trick banishes 1 normal trap from your deck except Trap Trick. And if you do, set 1 card with the same name directed or directly from the deck to the to the field. So, say like if you have Subterror Final Battle, I have 3 of those. I can send 1 to the Shadow Realm and instantly bring 1 onto the field to benefit me if I'm in a pickle. Next up, I have Witch's Strike. The reason why I have Witch's Strike, well, here's the reason right here. If your opponent negates the normal or special summon of a monster or the activation of a card or effect, destroy all cards your opponent controls and in their hand. That is so well to basically negate your opponent from doing anything to you. You can destroy their hand, destroy their field. It's basically a clean board for you to absolutely just rip and tear through their life points. Next up, we have Destructive Drama Karma Cannon. Oop. I only have 2 of these guys of the trap cards. I'm so sorry. So what this trap card can do. Change as many monsters on the field as possible to face-down defense position. Then, if either player controls a face-up monster, they must send all face-up monsters they control to the graveyard. So, say like if you're fighting someone who plays Link monsters, they can't switch them to face-down the position. So, they will have to send every last damn Link monster that they got. I personally do not like Link monsters. I love getting rid of them. I love watching my opponent suffer for it. Next up, I have Traditional Tributes. This card, when it's activated, only when a monster is summoned. Destroy all monsters on the field. That is pretty good. If I got no cards on my field, but my opponent has cards on their field, I'm using this so we both are left with a clean board. Next up, we have Solemn Strike. Solemn Strike. When a monster will be special summoned or a monster effect is activated, pay 1,500 life points to negate the summon or activation, and if you do, destroy that card. Next up, and final of the trap cards, we have There Can Only Be One. Now, this is very beneficial for Subterrors, because Subterrors, sometimes they can't really pack a punch without good trap cards and good spells. So, what There Can Only, Or no, there can be only one. My apologies. Each player can only control one monster of each type. If a player controls 2 or more monsters of the same type, they must send some to the graveyard so they control no more than one monster of that type. Say like if you're fighting someone, I don't know, let's say Cyber Dragons. They all nearly have the same type. So, if you're fighting someone with 3 Cyber Dragons on the field, they gotta send 2 of them to the graveyard, and that can definitely help you a lot to minimize how much damage they will be doing to you. Now finally, on to the action deck, and to the main monster you all are probably looking forward to see. Red Eyes Dark Dragoon. Red Eyes Dark Dragoon is a fusion spellcaster monster. Now, with Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, he has many unique things about him. First off, he cannot be destroyed by card effects, and neither player can target this card with card effects during your main phase. That is fucking awesome right there already. And you can destroy one monster your opponent controls, and if you do, inflict damage to your opponent equal to the monster's original attack points. You can use this effect a number of times per turn, up to the number of normal monsters used as fusion material for this card. Now, Dark Magician and Red Eyes Dark Dragon, they're both normal monsters. So that means you can destroy up to 2 monsters on your opponent's field while dealing the amount of damage to their life points equal to their monster's attack points. Now, another thing about Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, depending on how many cards you have in your hand, you can negate again and again and again. Say like if you have 4 cards in your hand and your opponent is trying to activate anything, you can negate them 4 times and increase your Red Eyes Dark Dragoon attack points by 1,000. So, negate them 4 times, that's 4,000, 5,000, 6,000, and 7,000. 7,000 attack points. Holy shit. He already cannot be destroyed by spell or trap cards, cannot even be touched by them at all. Your opponent generally has to have a monster that does more damage than him and cannot be affected by monster effects at all. So right now, Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, after being unbanned, is a badass motherfucker. So the second when you have him on the field, your opponent is probably already shitting bricks just by seeing that monster on the field. Next up, we got an XZ's monster, one of my favorite monsters. And my buddy is a big fan of a XYZ monster called Zeus. I do not remember his name by heart, but Super Star Slayer Typhon Sky Crisis is basically a big time counter to Zeus. But we'll talk about that another time. Right now, we're talking about the Subterror deck profile. Now, the reason why I have Super Star Slayer Typhon Sky Crisis is to counter any opponent who constantly has to use their extra deck. With Typhon, during the turn or turn after, your opponent special summons 2 or more monsters from the extra deck. You can also XYZ summon this card by using monsters you control with the highest attack. Your choice, if tied. Transfer its material to this card. If you do, you cannot normal or special summon monsters for the rest of this turn. While XYZ summon monsters is on the field, neither player can activate the effects of monsters with 3,000 or more attack points. That is insane. So, I know plenty of XYZ monsters with their attack points either being 3,000 or higher. Typhon basically tells them, yeah, no, you're not doing that. You're not doing that when I'm on the field, buddy. Typhon is a big time counter to any monster that has 3,000 or higher attack points. Now, he has a unique ability as well. By sending the material that you got using to make this guy, if they kept on special summoning extra monsters from the extra deck to the field 2 or more times, then that you can send the material that you use with the highest attack points to the graveyard and send one of those monsters into the extra deck. Now, that could also still work for normal summoned monsters. Just any monster that's on the field, you can send it back into the hand. Now, I also believe that's also for spell and trap cards as well. Doing a quick reroute. Yeah. Now, you can also, just by XYZ summoning this monster, just by using 2 level 12 monsters, but I prefer waiting and making sure that they use their extra deck more than 2 times at least. So you can basically mess them up and they have to start over again to get to where they need to be to actually win against you. That gives you more time, and that gives you at least a moment to understand what they're trying to do. So this guy right here, definitely need for Subterror. He is one of the best cards in this deck. A beautiful looking card, by the way. I love how he looks. Just all of that. I don't even know. He's just such a beautiful card. Such a beautiful card. Next up, within the extra deck, the last remaining cards are Link monsters. And you know I gotta get the Golden Rim Access Code Talker. Access Code Talker is one of my favorite monsters that I first started out with when I started playing Yu-Gi-Oh! And his effects are, when your opponent cannot activate cards or effects in response to this card's effect activation, if this card is Link summoned, you can target 1 Link monster that was used as material for its Link summon. This card gains attack equal to that monster's Link rating X times 1,000. You can banish 1 Link monster from your field or graveyard and destroy a card your opponent controls. Basically, you just banish the card, get rid of one of their monsters, and say like that's their only monster on the field, while also using his effect to gain the attack of the monster that you used to make this monster. Say like, let me think. Let's say Nightmare Cerberus, something like that. You're already probably going to be up around past 4,000, just a little bit past 4,000. So you're already taking half of their health already. Boom. So Access Code Talker, definitely recommend for this deck. Next up, we got the Charmers of the extra deck. Now, I have the Dark Charmer, Gloomy, and Azza, the Earth Charmer, Immovable, in the extra deck. Now, with Dark, you can target 1 Dark monster in your opponent's graveyard, special summon it to your side or to your zone. This card points to, if this Link summon card is destroyed by battle or is destroyed by your opponent's card effect while it's in owner's monster zone, you can add 1 dark monster from or with 1,500 or less defense points from your deck to your hand, and you can only use this effect of dark once per turn. Now that's also the same with the Earth Charmer, but it's Earth monsters. So these guys are basically the same. They basically do very similar things, but Dark only summons dark monsters from either graveyard, or no, from your opponent's graveyard and from your deck. But with the Earth Charmer, from your deck to the Earth monsters, and your opponent's Earth monsters to your side of the field. Next up, we have the Nightmare monsters. Now, I have Nightmare Cerberus, Phoenix, and Unicorn. With Cerberus, he gets rid of monsters on the field, or gets rid of 1 special summon monster on your opponent's field, just destroys it. Phoenix gets rid of a trap or spell. And Unicorn, basically what they do, they send a card on the field to back into your opponent's deck, and they gotta reshuffle it. Next up, we have IP Masquerena and SP Little Knight. IP Masquerena, she has a quick effect to where she can immediately, after this effect resolves, link summon into one link monster. So I would normally link off into SP Little Knight. Now SP Little Knight, what she does, she can banish herself and your opponent's monster for a turn, or she can completely banish a monster on your opponent's side for the rest of the game, or they can just bring them back onto the field. But you know what I'm trying to say here. Next up, we have Underworld Goddess of the Closed World with Celine, Queen of the Master Magicians. Now, with Celine, Queen of the Master Magicians, if this card is link summoned, place spell counters on this card equal to the number of spells on the field and in the graveyard. While this card is on the field, your opponent's monsters cannot target this card for attacks once per turn. During the main phase quick effect, you can remove 3 spell counters from your field to special summon 1 spellcaster monster from your hand or graveyard in defense position. So, we got a couple of spell casting monsters. The one that I can name off from the top of my head, Dark Magician. Say like you got Red Eyes Dark Dragoon on the field. You have to use Dark Magician as material to special summon him. You can use Celine to grab Dark Magician out from your graveyard and special summon on the field. But that's only if you get rid of 3 spell counters. Now, with Underworld Goddess of the Closed World, you can also use 1 monster your opponent controls as material. That is insane right there. She is a 5-link monster. You gotta use 4 monsters on your side and a monster on your opponent's side. So you can absolutely mess your opponent up. Say like if they got one very important monster they need on the field. Link away, make her. You can instantly mess their whole entire plan up. Now, back to her description. If this card is link summon, you can negate the effects of all face-up monsters your opponent currently controls. That's insane right there already. This link summon card is unaffected by your opponent's activated effects unless they target this card. So say like if it's a field spell, that ain't going to work on her. But if it's like a trap card, that will affect her. So field spells will not affect her at all. When your opponent activates a card or effect that special summons a monster from the graveyard, quick effect, you can negate that activation. That is pretty insane right there. So she alone can stop a lot that your opponent tries to do. So she is a definitely must-have for this deck. Celine ain't really a must-have, but I use her just so I can have like backup, just in case if some things do not work out the way how I would want them to go. But guys, that will be it for this deck profile for Subterrors. I hope y'all will learn so much with these, and I hope y'all can make a version of this deck. And please share your ideas with us. We would love to hear your ideas for more deck profiles or more things you want us to cover over. We would love for that. But guys, I hope y'all have a blessed day, and we will see you next time.